Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust.
We are literary agents at BookEnds who have taken our popular blog to YouTube to discuss all things publishing.
All of it.
Just every detail. We're in a, if you've watched our videos for the past couple of weeks and we're dressed in the same clothes, we're just a mess today. So appreciate them.
We haven't done it for a while. We're fired up. We're excited.
Yeah, it's new year. We're bringing a new energy and this is it. Anyway.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
But here we go.
Anyway, we wanted to talk a little bit today about how an author or an illustrator or an author illustrator can know that their book is done. Because if you're like me, you never know. And you don't leave it the hell alone.
Well, do you not know or do you just not leave it the hell alone? Are those two different things?
Yes.
And I know we're going to probably get into this, but I guess my question is it how to know when your book is done or how to decide that your book is done?
It's definitely how to decide. And I think, yeah, all of our little bullet points on this here document is going to tell us exactly how to decide that. So
then hit it.
All right. So first, let's give a little background information. Every agent, every editor will experience this fairly frequently where we'll get a book in our inbox and then we'll be like, wait, I've revised it. Take this one.
And then sometimes they'll send it, but then sometimes they want to keep in your inbox and just race you. I would prefer you just withdraw it.
But it's not even just querying. It's also clients that do that.
Yeah, I would prefer you just withdraw it.
Unanimous decision. Should we start this one over?
No, keep at it. Rolling.
All right. Anyway, so
yes, it happens a lot. And from our perspective, it's frustrating because there are times when, you know, I read something and now you're telling me it wasn't up to par. And I'll be honest, I get irked because it's a waste of my time. Don't send me something that's not ready. And if you're somebody who's submitting, I've now spent time on your work, reading a possible submission that I could have spent on somebody else's submission. And frankly, if you send me sort of that updated one, I'm not really that as excited to read it because my first thought is, well, how do you know this one's ready?
Right, because I will have had some thoughts that you didn't hear yet and you revised it. And so we want to discuss, again, how to decide that your book is ready. And I think that there are actual concrete pointers to know when it is. So the first thing is you finished your book, right? Like you have finished the first draft, the second draft, and you're like, somebody else has to read this thing now. You send it to your critique partners. Once you've incorporated all that feedback and your critique partners are like, I think this is good to go. That's your first sign. Like somebody else has told you, no, you're not crazy. Like this is good to go.
They also don't want to read it again.
Hey, that's a good sign.
Yeah, no, but it is. You know, nobody should, you're not your agent, not your critique partners, not your partner. Nobody should be reading it that many times. Yeah. You should not voice that on somebody because you're not going to get the valuable feedback you're seeking if it's the fourth time somebody's read it.
And I will tell you, if somebody has read it that many times, it's because you're rushing through a draft and you're not taking the time to do the draft, do the revisions before you send the next draft.
Yeah.
So what I always say is wait a week, like in between every draft, wait a week and then decide. Then take another look. Can I send it? Should I do something more before I send it? Always give yourself like a week buffer. I think that's a good amount of time.
It's the 24-hour rule for manuscripts, right? You don't just go, it's done and I'm sending it out. You take.
But so many people do that. I think even more frequently in Kidlit because you can be like, oh, I read those 3 pages again of picture books. I read those 3 pages again. They're good to go. But wait a week. Always wait a week.
Yeah. And also agents are not critique partners. Your own agent is not your critique partner. They want the final and best. And they're going to have some thoughts on it, but their job is not to go back and forth and back and forth. And you don't want them to do that and lose the perspective that's going to give you the really valuable stuff you wanted at the end.
Right. A second pointer, and I think can be adapted for both of those, is when you feel you want to send it to your agent. So it's a bit of training your brain. Like when you're like, this can be queried, that's a pointer that you should be done with the book, right? Like, or if you say, I want to send this to Jessica. Then you have to sort of train your brain and know Jessica will want to see this because it's done. And
I even think if you really want to challenge yourself, I'm ready for Jessica to send this out to editors.
yeah.
If you're not ready to take that step, then you're not ready to send it to Jessica.
But again, and I know this is going to sound annoying, wait a week. So
Wait a
when
week.
you finish it, like Jessica's ready for this, wait a week. And in a
Yeah.
week, if Jessica's still ready for it, send it. Okay, so you know when you're sort of like, I just want to change this word, or I want to do one more line level pass, you're probably over fiddling. Like,
And you're also not ready then.
yeah.
Like once you send it, whether it's a submission or to your own agent or to your editor, you are done.
Yeah.
You've made that decision to be done. The book is sent. You can't even find it anymore. You can't get to it. The files are locked. You have to start over with something else.
Yeah, so and I think it's a little bit of both at the same time. Like you're probably close to being done with the book because all you can find are these super tiny things.
Yeah.
So you should give yourself some time, do that last pass, and then decide if you are done with the book.
Yeah, if you're just obsessively fixing typos, it's time to move on.
It's time to move on. Like mentally, it's time to move on.
For all of our sakes, move on.
Okay, so the last time to know you're done with your book, like you should not be changing it, is if you are querying or the book is on submission and you haven't yet received actionable feedback. So if it's out there, you shouldn't be changing stuff until you have some sort of feedback. Wait for that feedback. It's your time to just sort of, it's uncomfortable, but it's a time to sit in the silence and just wait for it, right? Like wait for how the world perceives that book.
And you might not get the feedback. You might just get rejection letters with no feedback.
That's feedback.
It is, but I don't think it's feedback to change it.
Right.
I think I think that's feedback, but it's not actionable feedback. If somebody comes back to you and says, I loved every bit of this, would you be willing to change, blah, 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 that's actionable. If it's just form rejection after form rejection, it is still done. You are not going back to try to fix something that you have been given no actionable feedback on how to fix.
These are all ways that one book becomes a complete time and career suck. Like it just will completely bulldoze your career if you cannot give yourself that healthy distance from a book.
Yep. Yep. So maybe we should talk a tiny bit about then, what do you do with yourself? Because I think
you stare at a wall.
Because I think one of the big decision makers that you're done is that you're excited about something else.
For sure. Like, and every author will have like 10 ideas pop into their head. Like, I can't write that one. I can't write that one. But when you feel like you've completed one and that other one is looking tempting, that's a sign to start moving on.
Or that other one even looks more tempting than what you're doing on this
one. Right. But I also think that once you do finish that book, a good way to combat this, which we've talked about so many times, is just switching the hat, right? Like now it's time to sort of get a little more ingrained in the business of publishing, in the querying, in understanding what comes next, who the agents are, all of that. And I think that's going to help a bit stay away from that book. When you start seeing that book less as your creative, everybody calls it their book baby, right? Like less of your creation and more of a product, because that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, because you're not abandoning the book. You're just taking it to a new place.
You're advocating for it in a different way.
It's not a baby anymore. It's growing up. You're taking it out into the world.
Kicking it out of the nest.
Yes. And now you have a new baby, a new book that you're excited about, that you're working on, that you're taking care of.
But it's also, I think a lot of authors might get stuck in that book, like, I can't let it die, but you're not letting it die if you don't keep revising it, you know, like you're focusing on bringing it to life in a different way now.
I think you cause far more damage by revising it than you do. Sometimes you just have to accept this book is not going to sell now. If you need to add the now to make yourself feel better, add the now. Everything you write is not going to sell. You could be 20 books into a publishing career and write a book that's not going to sell. You need to get used to that.
You do. And I mean, every book has a purpose, right? Like if it doesn't sell, it still was the first book you wrote or the second book you wrote. And it's still, maybe that's the book that helped you get better at writing dialogue, or maybe that's the book where you realize, oh, I know how to bring a hook to a book. Like you might not see it right now, but every book you have written and saw through to the end will have some foundational building block for you.
Absolutely. And you're not gonna build if you're not moving on to the next thing. If you're not having that foundation to build from, if you keep just redigging that.
Yep.
Right.
So
Just
quick
follow the
recap.
metaphors.
Yeah, yeah, we really are. Quick recap, how to know when your book is done. You have to decide it's done, get the feedback, make it the best you can be, put it out there and just let it be out there. And my favorite tip, just wait. Like if you're not sure, give yourself a week. If you are sure, give yourself a week. Give yourself a week.
Give it the 1 week rule.
I'm gonna get a shirt that says give yourself a week.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
So that video was a bit of a mess, but we hope it was helpful.
Don't tell people that. They probably thought it was great until you
They
told them.
probably did. We probably look so polished.
Mm.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next week.
Bye.